I was really bricking when I first read poetry out, and you did an amazing job. You should really proud of yourselves. I'm going to read 4 poems tonight. 3 of them are centred around some mental health problems that myself have suffered, or my friends have suffered. You can never speak too much about mental health. This first one's called Rally of the Witch. It's not about mental health, it's about witches. Sisters, tonight we make stronger our pact with the devil. Not a single soul lives free from constrictions, but we shall live under a freer restriction. It is true we are owned by our master, but he does not place upon us the heavy yoke of male society. He remains completely indifferent to expected female propriety. He cares not for acceptable societal behaviour, although he does have a liking for societal aggression, but it is his indifference towards female suppression of mind, body and soul that enables our submission to be an achievable goal. We are his and he is ours, and in that we belong to no man. Sisters, tonight we make stronger our pact with the devil. We can say of our masters, no huntsman is more skilled. And if we listen, we will learn. He will teach us how to curse and how to plague this land. This despicable land, whose tyrannous hand has placed us leagues beneath the importance of man. We shall place upon this land an infection of the skin. We shall visit every windmill and steal away its winds. We'll send pestilence into their homes and cause their sons to sin. We'll draw our power from seeing whilst remaining shielded from their eyes. And when their food runs out, they'll eat each other alive. Sisters, tonight we make stronger our pact with the devil. Our loyal familiars, our feline friends shall be sent with their poison claws into the bedrooms of sleeping future men. We shall plague the mother's milk, and our success will be measured in infant deaths. There shall never be another wretch who will resemble Matthew Hopkins, for through our devilish foresight we shall wean out future misogynists. Sisters, tonight we make stronger our pact with our master. Sisters, tonight we wage war against the scoundrels who believe we are their property. We shall not remain how they wish us to remain, in a perpetual state of being meek and mild. Sisters, tonight we make stronger our pact with the devil. So bring forth that wretched child. Bring forth that wretched child. And with this blade, made from the rib of man, fashioned from an ancestor of Adam, I shall slit its throat, and we shall devour the sacrificial goat's flesh. Sisters, we must be prepared. We must take the utmost care. We must remind ourselves of our agreement with the Prince of Powers of the air. For its mutual benefits that all parties will receive will offer joy deeper than the deepest seas. See, Satan, through us, receives in measured amount the damnation of this world, and this said damnation serves to make our damned souls well. All shall be well, all manner of things shall be well, for upon the head of man we shall rain down the fire of hell. Now dance, dance, my dearest sisters, the world's despised spinsters. Dance under the light of the moon, and be sure to prepare your spells that will bring about their doom. This one is called Men Don't Cry. There was a time that when I cried, the tears didn't come outside but ran down the interior of my cheeks. They scarred me, marking my insides like the Grand Prix where the rubber from tyres stained streets. They trickled down and warped my heart with sadness, an unspoken sadness that eventually turned into a hidden madness. Those salty drops dried like cement, transforming my heart into a shell, and my body became the home of a beating fleshy cell. And like a shell lets nothing in or out in its endeavour to protect, emotions were locked inside my manly chest. They couldn't come to the surface. They hid from the light, remaining in darkness, growing in the black of the night. Like a rock that hasn't been lifted for years, underneath dwell creatures that serve to feed your fear. Imagine keeping those creatures locked inside of a bony cage where they constantly fight and ceaselessly rage. I came into this world crying. And my mother comforted me as good mothers do, but as I grew, so did the locks of my tear ducts. My desire to unlock them shrunk and eventually disappeared. I was moulded, reared in a male code of conduct. That stone I carried around, that rock that made up my centre was so heavy and unspoken pain is all it rendered. My drought-ridden eyes were as dry as desert sand. The vultures were pointed to their prey by isolation's hand. That hand placed its fingers inside of my mouth. They restrained my tongue, stopping the truth from coming out. I lived with this week in and week out. I was week in and week out. Why could I only whisper when I really wanted to shout? Be a man. You're not supposed to need help. Never kneel, always stand. Remember, only animals yelp. But saying don't you cry is like promoting suicide. For males, aged 20 to 49, that's the most likely way that you're going to die. So if I want to cry, I'll cry. Don't tell me to man up. Don't tell me it's not all right. There's a time and a place for everything. A time to be happy and a time to cry. Don't try and push upon me the self-destructive, unnatural lie that in this spiteful, screaming, bleeding world, men don't cry. This one is something that is a bit experimental on the page, but you ain't going to be able to see that, so I'm going to read it. It's free verse, so it doesn't rhyme, but it's called Silence of Souls. Sadness spills from my eyes when I see the mass of still, silent bodies. Saline soldiers I deploy to acknowledge those who were lost and lonely. Once living corpses, empty vessels that have been filled with demise, speaking louder now than they did within the confines of life. Never really present, merely stuck to the world by tenuous Velcro, anchored down to the ground they gasped and drowned in oxygen. Trudging through invisible blood that drips from hidden wounds, I see days are just a space where suffering breeds and grows, groans, goads, grins. Daily an illness desires to feed the black fields of fleshy compost. Strangers within this world, they didn't even belong within themselves. Foreign locals, human aliens, you'll rarely notice their pain. They'll barely ever whisper to you through fear of wasting your time, but they're ever present and their brains have been set alight. The clouds are their signals and the sky is always a blanket of grey. But it never rains heavy enough to extinguish insatiable flames. Let's have a moment of silence! For those who have fought but died. For those who have fallen to friendly fire. Destroyed by serotonin-sucking monsters. Prisoners of themselves, held captive by their renegade minds. Left alone to starve in hell. I'm silent and lonely and confined. I'm drowning, I'm hidden, I'm suffering, I'm in pain and wasting. It's insatiable, I'm falling, destroyed, I'm a prisoner, I'm captive. I feel hopeless, even in my own home, I feel homeless. Bang. I'm sorry, I'm really bringing it down, aren't I? But it's important that people know about this sort of thing, because it happens every day. This one's called Happiness. It's called Happiness. Thank you. I often view happiness through a cloud of gloom, sitting on the other side of the room. He calls for me to come close, wishing to break the chains that choke my hopes. He meets my gaze and seeing I'm on my knees, wants to make his home inside of me. One day in happiness's mercy seat would give me the persevering strength I need. Please, 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 I'm pleading, please. I just need one single moment of relief. Because I don't just feel sad. No, I don't just feel sad. This is not just sadness that I have. The sadness, the power to infiltrate your bed, to crawl up and kneel upon your chest and with its hand pluck from your lungs their breath. Try and smile once in a while, choose to smile away the pain. Well, that advice is as useful as a paper umbrella in the rain. I see happiness perched in between all my friends. his hands gently patting all their legs. I desire happiness is embraced, to no longer have to mimic the smile on my face, because I laugh away every single night, wrapping myself up in a blanket of lies. But happiness, a rose unfading and without thorns, desires to penetrate my core, to dismantle and destroy the crushing depression and all the other forms of silent repression, because I'm far from feeling fine when the darkest of shadows curse my insides. We should all receive help and be equally blessed. We should all receive assistance from a free therapist. But with the National Health Service being up for purchase, its consumption shall usher in a no-hope service. Lists get longer, services get fewer, as vulnerability leads to a suicidal future. The service cuts place their slicing burden upon the wrists of the unwell person. This plague is like a thief in the night, with knives and ropes, it's ending lives. Happiness! They refuse to hear our voice because they think that you are simply a choice. But there's a sheet between us and them. They call it sadness, I call it wishing for death. There's a wall between us and them. They're gaining wealth while I'm losing friends. It's important, so I'll say about the death of my mate, how he felt trapped and that his only escape was to hang himself in the forest with his own shoelace. He dangled, barely struggling, from a branch of a tree, but suddenly the branch snapped, and as he fell to his knees, the damage was done and his heart ceased to beat. He was only 18. How many more hearts need to stop before the depression penny finally drops? There's so many of us who see happiness on the other side of the room, looking at us through our clouds of gloom. And on those days when he can't provoke a smile, and when every step is like trudging a mile, that's when we need help to grab his outstretched hand, not to have our pain defined as feeling sad. There's so many of us who see happiness on the other side of the room, but with a little help, we can begin to move.